Well, this is the video that many were waiting for regarding the touchscreen. So if you wanted to take the basic 7-inch touch panel and remove it and put in the 8-inch touch panel, unfortunately, it is not direct swappable. So I've done a lot of work on this. I've taken that radio apart, the 7-inch radio apart, and I've reverse engineered it and came up with all sorts of different possible reasons that the screens will not communicate via touchscreen. Now, let's say you bought a 7-inch screen and you took an 8-inch screen, or you buy an 8-inch screen and you replace it with your 7-inch, plug it in. It will come on, but it will not do anything. So this cable here, and you'll have to excuse the hack job, I ordered a new one of these, but it's not here yet, so I just patched the part that I cut open so that I can have some connections to do some testing on. Inside of here, there's a green wire, a blue wire, an orange wire, and a brown wire. So that is called the LVDS cable per the service manual. These wires over here, this little white plug, that is all just power wires, when to turn the screen on, when not to turn the screen on. There's no data there. There's nothing to do with the digitizer up here. The LVDS cable is somewhat like a LAN cable, kind of like Internet Ethernet. There's a blue and a green. Those two wires are in the exact same location between the 7-inch screen and the 8-inch screen on this cable between the head unit and that. So blue and the green will turn your screen on, but you will not get any touch function. As you can see here, we have touch function. So the reason we have touch function is, unfortunately, the 7-inch monitor does not speak the same language. To keep it as simple as possible, it does not speak the same language as the 8-inch screen's touchscreen. So this unit here is actually out of a GT1. GT2 is the same thing, but this, as you can see up here, current location, nav menu, and such, it has navigation. I had to get a whole new unit from this, so this is actually a completely different navigation unit. So this is not the stock radio for the GT or the base Stinger. They're not cheap. Brand new, I think they're $2,000. If you buy a used one, they vary from $350 to $550 to well over that. So you'll have to get one of these to make it work. And this cable here, your LVDS, will be the same as long as you have the other unit. Now, there are two ends to the LVDS cable. Obviously, one plugs into the screen and one plugs into the unit. You cannot mix the ends up. They have pin 1 up here is like pin 3 down here, pin 4 is pin 2, and pin 3 is pin 1. So they're different on each end of the cable. If green was in pin 1 up here, green is not in pin 1 down here. So you have to plug it in to the correct side. There is paint on the back. So if you are looking to do this modification, you're in for a rather expensive adventure, to say the least. You'll have to take your dash out. So there's a dash panel here you'll have to take out. And then you can get to the screen access and stuff. That's not horrible. It's not fun, but it's not horrible. There's a bunch of screws here that hold the little trim bracket on. And then you can take the 2 screws that hold the screen in, slide the screen up, which is extremely hard. Once you get the screen up, unplug it. You'll have to get your new trim piece, the black plastic piece that goes around the screen. You'll have to get a new one of those. Again, you can get them on eBay. They range vastly. I was lucky enough to get mine for $35 because I made an offer. If you find a seller that is selling an 8-inch screen and you look in their store for that bezel, if they don't have it in the store, message them. Ask them if they have it. And their donor vehicle may still have it on there, and they could possibly include it for free because they want to make the sale. So I did message one seller about doing that. He said that he'd be willing to go out to the donor vehicle and grab it, but I ended up buying one from somebody else because I wanted it to be in perfect condition, and the one that the other seller had was. So once you get that all apart, this audio unit is the absolute worst portion. You will have to remove your entire center dash console. You'll have to pull these side covers off. There's one on this side, there's one on that side. You'll have to pull them off. There's a bolt here, a bolt there, a bolt on the top of the shifter, a bolt here, a bolt here. You're going to have to pull all those bolts out in order to be able to pick up the center console and slide it backwards. You need to slide it backwards in order to get the climate control unit out, because the climate control unit is what is stopping you from getting access to the bottom two bolts for this navigation unit, or the audio unit, this right here. You can't get to it with these tab screws. You can reach the top two, but that's not going to help you. So you'll have to pull the climate control out. The climate control has a screw up in this corner and this corner, and then it actually clips, but you have to tilt it up, which is why this needs to be this way. Pull that out, unplug it, and then take your audio unit out. There's a ridiculous amount of plugs. I don't think I'll be able to see them, but there is a lot of plugs on the back. There's 9 total, including ground. You have to undo all the plugs. So when you do this process, you do not have to unplug your battery. Instead, down here in your fuse box, the switch right here says on off. Flip that to off. That takes all the power out of the audio unit. That way you don't have to get in your trunk and disconnect your negative. But do that before you remove your navigation unit. That's just for static discharge, random things you never know about. Pull the unit out, plug the new unit back in. All the plugs, I've already verified this. All of the wires for the plugs are the same. So as you can see, all the lights work perfectly fine. Hazard lights work fine. I did turn the stupid beep off for the video, thanks to the last guy that complained about it. But all of the wires into this unit are the exact same. I already checked all the pins. They do have 2 or 3 extra wires on there, however, that will not be used. Mainly navigation audio that feeds into the back of the car's amp. I don't know if that's going to play a role later. Don't know, didn't check, didn't really care. You can see here up on the dash, I do have, see if it would stay on. I have the navigation menu pulled up there. What use that might be later, I don't know quite yet, but I did turn on the variant coding in the head unit. You can see engineering mode in a different video to allow me to turn that on so that I have it up here. What function that'll give me later, who knows. But I guess it's kind of cool that I have navigation now. I'll check that out. I don't see why you'd have to update it so that it knows the vehicle and its location, because it's already told me exactly where I live. So obviously navigation's working fine. It does have all of the connections for that, so the GPS unit and everything else, antenna, it's all there. But that is what you will have to do in order to get an 8-inch touchscreen in here. Now, for some people, it may be just easier to buy a GT1 or a GT2. I personally don't want a sunroof, mainly because I don't use sunroofs. I can't stand sunroofs. I don't like the rattles. I don't like struts. They cost 4 times as much to replace. I don't like a lot of the things that are in the higher end models that are just going to end up being costly later, or things I just won't use. So for me, it made the most sense to take this and put this in here, and then I can have my own navigation unit without having to worry about, trading this one in. One thing I will note, when I was in engineering mode and doing some background stuff, the car without a navigation unit, so not with this at all, with stock GT, keeps track of your location. If you go in, there's a menu that says like SD somewhere, and there's like, I think there's a bunch of like gibberish. I say gibberish, but Korean letters and stuff all over the place. If you go in there, there is a spot where you can download your logs, and the log actually reports like what you had for speeds, locations, what were the statuses of things when you started your car. But inside that menu, there is a spot where you can find your location, and it shows your live longitude, longitude, and all those things. You can actually rock the car and see it update, and it's so there is something in here. I'm assuming part of maybe an immobilizer system or something else. But even if you have a base model, there is something that's keeping track of the location of your vehicle at all times. I did also do a mod on this that I will have to update you on to possibly bypass the function where when you're driving you can't get into certain menus. That you can get an XM and set up new channels and shit, but you can't go in and change your user settings. But I do have something set up here, which is these two, to try to bypass that. But again, I won't be able to tell until I start driving the car. Still working on the dash cluster. We've got the board and the assembly and everything ready. I'm still working on the in-car electronics, trying to figure out how I plan on driving the monitor. Mainly because the driver board that I bought is apparently very picky as to what kind of HDMI signal it receives. So it really likes full-size HDMI. So I'm working on that. I've already got 90% of the parts for it. I just haven't put it in yet. I'm still working on the gauges too, but that sums up what you'll have to do if you plan on getting this beautiful screen instead of the, for some reason, awful ugly one that they put in stock. So enjoy.